Hello, members. We're just waiting one more moment for our chair to arrive, and then we'll begin shortly.
Thank you, Ms. Nash. Sorry for the delay. I had somebody come in my office while I was trying to get set up. So are we ready to convene? Let me make sure I'm working here. I convene this meeting of the Legislative and Citizen Commission on Minnesota Resources Subcommittee on Strategic Planning. Ms. Nash, if you could just go through our agenda first, that would be helpful, and then we'll start to take action.
Okay, Mr. Chair, we have roll call. We have organization of subcommittee with election of chairs and some other items. Agenda item 3 is calendar. Agenda item 4 is overview of strategic planning. 5 is what additional data and input to seek in 2024. 6 is public testimony, and we do have 2 testifiers today. Both of them are wanting to speak to agenda item number 5. And then we have adjourning at approximately 3 p.m.
Okay, let's proceed with the roll call then.
Hansen.
Here.
Hansen present. Per is excused. Albrecht.
Albright present, thank you.
Albrecht present. Green. Green. Heinzman is excused. Langseth.
Langseth present.
Langseth present. Morrison.
Morrison present.
Morrison present. Peichel is excused. Reese.
Reese present.
Reese present. Green. Currently, there are 5 members present.
We have a quorum and are able to do business. Then the next item of business is to elect a chair. Are there nominations for chair? Commissioner Langseth.
Mr. Chair, I would like to move to nominate Commissioner Albrecht as chair of the subcommittee.
Commissioner Albrecht has been nominated. Are there any other nominations for chair?
Mr. Chair, I'd like to nominate Commissioner Hansen for chair.
I appreciate that, but I decline. So are there any other nominations? Are there any other nominations? We will just, for the sense of speed, we will proceed to vote. Clerk will take the roll on the nomination of Commissioner Albrecht for chair.
Hansen.
Yes.
Hansen, yes. Per is excused. Albrecht.
Yes.
Albrecht, yes. Green. Heinzman is excused. Langseth.
Langseth, yes.
Langseth, yes. Morrison.
Morrison, yes.
Morrison, yes. Peichel is excused. Reese.
Reese, yes.
Reese, yes. Currently, there are 5 yes, 0 no.
I turn the gavel over to Chair Albright. It's a hockey puck in my office, so I don't know what you will use, but go ahead, proceed.
Thank you. Thank you for your support, and I look forward to the process. Hopefully we can be very productive and try to make our meetings as productive as possible. And I appreciate the staff that has helped get us prepared for this, because it's not easy to do strategic planning by remote means. So thanks for that. The next item on our agenda, unless there's anything else under item 2B, which is other, did members have, or did the staff have anything there? Becca, Ms. Nash.
Madam Chair, I'm going to hand it off to Mike Campana, and then Mike, I don't know if you want to talk about a vice chair option as well.
That's an excellent idea. Thank you. Mr. Campana.
Yeah, I think there were 3 items here. One was whether you wanted to have a vice chair in case you were not available, Chair Albrecht to chair. The second item of business we were hoping you might discuss, and some of this may have also just been clarified with the last vote, is just clarifying and agreeing to the role of the alternate members, their ability to participate in discussions and to vote, and when that can happen and when it does not happen. And the third thing we were hoping you might discuss is the decision-making process you'd like to follow. As we're going to discuss later in the meeting and as we described in the memo, we're recommending the subcommittee discuss and make decisions in chunks. For example, approve the vision and mission statement or approve a specific goal and strategy under that goal. And we'd like to know, you might want to discuss how you'd like to make those decisions. You know, for example, the full commission decided on a supermajority for the final plan. We thought you might want to discuss how, if you're going to use that type of threshold for those individual decisions, or if it's going to be majority or some other decision making.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Campana. So to the first question, does the commission subcommittee recommend the election of a vice chair? And if so, I'd open the floor for nominations for vice chair. Member Hansen.
I think it would be good to have the balance, so I will recommend Commissioner Reese for vice chair.
Commissioner Reese has been recommended for vice chair. Are there any other nominations? Any other nominations? Any other nominations? If not, can we do this by a voice vote or do we need a roll call?
We do need a roll call vote.
Oh,
Madam
we're
Chair.
online. Yes, that's
Yeah.
correct. Thank you for that reminder. So would the staff take the roll on the question of Mike Reese as vice chair?
Hansen,
Yes.
Hansen, yes. Kerr is excused. Albrecht,
Yes.
Albrecht, yes. Green,
Yes.
Green, yes. Heinzman is excused. Langseth,
Langseth, yes.
Langseth, yes. Morrison,
Morrison, yes.
Morrison, yes. Heichel is excused. Reese, Reese. Currently, there are 5 yes, 0 no.
So Mr. Reese, I was maybe not in front of his camera right now, but he's been elected vice chair. So the next question that staff has put to us is what should be the role of the alternate members? And I think this relates to should they be a full voting or a proxy? And staff, do you have any other comments on that, Mr. Campana?
No, I think that was the idea of when they can vote and when they do not vote, and also whether they can participate in discussions, even if all the citizen members who were there. Could Commissioner Pike still participate in those discussions or not?
And the question is, so alternates should attend all the meetings, whether or not their member is present, and should they participate in discussions? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, just so there's agreement ahead of time of what the role is for the alternates for the subcommittee.
Okay, so to that point, what are the commission's or the subcommittee's wishes? Representative Hansen.
I think it would be good that I would move that the alternates vote when the member that a member in their section is unable to be there. So when the member is not present and there's an alternate, then the alternate can vote. And that alternates be encouraged to participate so that they are aware, to be encouraged to attend the meetings so they are aware of the flow of the discussion and debate.
Thank you. Representative Hansen moves that the alternates votes the alternate would vote when their member is absent, and that they be encouraged to attend meetings so that they are kept up to date of the subcommittee's process. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Any comments on that motion? Seeing no hands raised, we'll call for the vote on that.
Hansen,
Yes.
Hansen, yes. Her is excused. Albrecht,
Yes.
Albrecht, yes. Green,
Yes.
Green, yes. Heitzman is excused. Langseth,
Langseth, yes.
Langseth, yes. Morrison,
Morrison, yes.
Morrison, yes. Peichel is excused. Reese, Reese. Currently, there are 5 yes, 0 no.
That motion is approved. Thank you. Then the third item that staff has recommended we take up is a decision-making process. How would we like to make decisions on the items that we're going to recommend by consensus, by a simple majority, or by a super majority, I think are the potential. And if we had to do, so remind me, Mr. Campana, again, we have a 7-member subcommittee. And so remind us again what the vote counts would be for a simple majority and a super majority if we go that route, either of those routes.
As a 7-member subcommittee, 4 would be the majority. Supermajority is actually, I think, something the subcommittee could decide what vote threshold above that can be considered a supermajority. It's not necessarily set up anywhere what that would be.
Okay, thank you. So to that question, what are the commission's wish or the subcommittee's wishes?
Madam Chair,
Representative Hansen.
I would move that the decision-making be by majority of the subcommittee. So that would be not of those that are in attendance, but of the subcommittee. So that would be 4 votes. A 4-vote majority.
Okay, we have a motion to recommend a 4-vote majority for any votes that we take as a recommendation. Any comments to that motion? Seeing no hands raised, I'll ask the staff to take the roll.
Hansen,
Yes.
Hansen, yes. Her is excused. Albrecht,
Yes.
Albrecht, yes. Green,
Yes.
Green, yes. Heitzman is excused. Langseth,
Langseth, yes.
Langseth, yes. Morrison,
Morrison, yes.
Morrison, yes. Peichel is excused. Reese. Currently, there are 5 yes, 0 no.
So that motion is approved. So we will make our decision-making process through a simple majority vote of 4 members. So that is all under 2B other. The next item on our agenda is number 3, the calendar. Members have received a calendar, and I'd like to have staff just comment on the calendar and how it's been laid out for our recommendation.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'm going to share my screen, just hopefully you all have it in front of you, but just in case, I'm going to share my screen to maybe make it easier to see. So hopefully you can all now see the draft proposed schedule we've put together as staff. I'm just going to quickly run through this, not every detail, but just run through the basics of it. And this is also described in your memo and your meeting packet as well. We're proposing 2 meetings in January. Then there will be a break during the legislative session. Potentially the surveys and listening sessions could occur during this period, but that can be changed depending on the results of your later discussion on additional data and input. Meetings would resume in the summer, and primarily piggybacking on the same days full commission meetings are scheduled. In the fall, staff would draft the plan and 2026 RFP. The plan and RFP would then go before the full commission for discussion in November. And there would be a public comment period between the November, December LCCMR meetings, and final consideration would occur in December. So that's sort of the draft schedule we've put together. In terms of process, staff are proposing the subcommittee begin with the vision and mission statements, move on to goals and strategies, and then finish with measurable outcomes and a discussion of the 2026 RFP. And each discussion would end with the subcommittee's approval of the language to include in the strategic plan and/or RFP. And staff would also recommend the subcommittee update the full commission on its work at every full commission meeting. And with that, I'll stop sharing my screen.
Thank you, Mr. Campana. Are there any comments from members on the proposed calendar? I see one hand up, Representative Hansen.
Madam Chair, I'd move adoption of the proposed calendar.
We have a motion to adopt the proposed calendar. Is there discussion to that motion? Seeing no hands raised, we'll take the roll on that motion.
Hansen,
Yes.
Hansen, yes. Her is excused. Albrecht,
Yes.
Albrecht, yes. Green,
yes,
Green, yes. Heinzman is excused. Langseth,
Langseth, yes.
Langseth, yes. Morrison,
Morrison, yes.
Morrison, yes. Pikel is excused. Reese. Currently, there are 5 yes, 0 no.
That motion prevails and the calendar is adopted. Moving on to our agenda item number 4, overview of the 2019 strategic planning. We have a strategic planning presentation from staff, and is that Mr. Campana?
Madam Chair, yes, it is again me.
Well, can I just interrupt you for a moment? Representative Hansen, do you still have your hand up? No, you took it down. Okay, thank you. Mr. Campana.
All right, thank you, Madam Chair. Once again, I'm going to share my screen. Hopefully I can get this to work properly. All right, hopefully you all now are seeing the
Yes, we can see
presentation.
it. Yes, thank you.
Wonderful. Since the commission decided to move forward with a strategic planning option that builds on the 2019 process, staff thought it would be helpful to the subcommittee to provide an overview of that process that was used to develop the goals and strategies that you will be your starting point for your discussions. So to begin with, this flow chart provides an overview of the 2019 process, and I'm just going to walk through some of the basic points in the process. So that process began with a document scan to review plans of agencies with environment and natural resource programs and responsibilities and conservation and environmental organizations. The results of that scan were then reviewed by an expert panel, which was called the Issue Identification Panel, and synthesized into the first list of potential goals. Feedback on those goals was solicited from subject matter experts using a survey and small discussions. At this time, the subject matter experts were also asked to identify strategies to address the goals. That feedback was then reviewed by an expert prioritization panel, and a prioritized list of goals and highest leverage strategies were prepared for consideration by the LCCMR. This list of goals and strategies will be the starting point for many of the subcommittee's discussions. And finally, I should also mention that concurrently, phone interviews were conducted with LCCMR members, and a survey and a few small listening sessions were conducted with the general public to further inform the LCCMR's discussions. At this point, I'm just going to stop quickly to make sure there aren't any questions from members.
Do members have questions? Hearing none, I think you can continue, Mr. Campana.
Wonderful. Thank you, Madam Chair. So next thing I'd like to talk about is the stakeholder engagement process. So I want to provide a little more detail about this since that's actually one of the later agenda items we're going to discuss. So here you will see the specific elements of the 2019 stakeholder engagement process from earlier in the flow chart, but here categorized by the target audience. And I've circled here the three parts of the process the LCCMR has asked to be supplemented with additional information in 2024. So now I'd like to go into more detail about each of those three parts, starting with the public survey. So the goal of the 2019 public survey was to gather from the public broad input on areas of concern and preferred methods to address those concerns. The survey was emailed to 200 stakeholders and posted on LCCMR social media with the encouragement to share broadly. It was open for about 7 weeks prior to the LCCMR discussion on goals and strategies. There were three fundamental questions posed to the public. First, they were asked, which one of the following is your biggest area of concern for Minnesota's environment and natural resources, with the 11 options you see here to select from. Second, they were asked, what is the most important thing Minnesota could do to address the areas of concern you selected above, with the 5 options to select from. These options were based on what statute provides for ENRTF funding. And the third question is, what is your big, bold idea for protecting Minnesota's environment and natural resources? In this case, this was an open-ended question where they could write anything they'd like. In addition to those questions, a number of additional standard questions were asked related to the respondent's age, gender, race or ethnicity, location in the state, affiliations, and any potential participation in any of the other stakeholder engagement opportunities. So the results of those surveys was there was 2,430 responses, about evenly split between metro area residents and greater Minnesota residents. Climate change, water quality, wildlife habitat and management, and agricultural practices were the biggest area of concerns identified by the public. And piloting, demonstrating, and implementing innovative solutions was the leading strategy to address those concerns. I'm not going to provide any more detail at this time about the results of the survey, but if you would like additional information, you can find it in the Appendix C and P of the 2019 Strategic Planning Process Report. That report is one of the meeting handouts, and there's a link at the bottom of the agenda page. So now I'm going to move on to the subject matter survey, or subject matter expert survey. The goal of this survey was more focused and detailed than the public survey. It was to prioritize goals identified by the issue identification panel that I mentioned earlier, and recommend strategies to address those goals. The survey was sent to 434 subject matter experts, primarily project managers of previously funded ENRTF projects. It was open for about 4 weeks prior to the LCCMR discussion on goals and strategies. The subject matter experts were presented with a list of goals under each issue area and asked to identify the goals they thought were most important and to identify strategies for achieving the goals. In addition, they were asked their area of expertise. 189 experts responded to the survey, and they identified these leading goals. Water and increased knowledge. For water and increased knowledge, Minnesota water resources are better managed for both water quality and quantity as a result of being a better understanding of the connections between surface water and groundwater. For the goal of water improved outcomes, Minnesota is prepared for water volume changes and extreme runoff events resulting from climate and land use changes. Under the category of habitat, fish, and wildlife, Minnesota has a healthy and diverse wildlife populations that sustain and enhance the state's environment, economy, and quality of life. Under the category of outdoor recreation and open space, outdoor recreational users in Minnesota understand the environmental issues that impact those activities, such as habitat loss, invasive species, toxic ammunition, and are meaningfully engaged in conservation efforts and have adopted more sustainable practices when needed. Under the goal category of air and energy, Minnesota achieves reliance on non-polluting renewable energy in all sectors, including transportation, building, industry, agriculture, and others. In addition to prioritizing these goals, the subject matter experts identified hundreds of strategies. I'm not going to go through those, but if you're interested, appendices E through L of the 2019 report provide far more detail on the results of this survey. So moving forward, I'm finally going to talk about the 2019 public listening sessions. Its purpose was similar to the public survey and was to gather broader input on areas of concern and preferred methods to address those concerns from stakeholders, but specifically not subject matter experts. 5 sessions were held in the metro area and the Morris, Minnesota area, and coincided with the LCCMR site visits that year. Some of the sessions were open to anyone from the public, others were invite only to certain community members, and the format of each varied slightly depending on the time and location. Attendees were asked the same questions that appeared on the public survey, and their comments were recorded during the session. Unfortunately, I can't tell you exactly how many people participated in those public listening sessions. However, there were at least 90 people who participated in those sessions or the subject matter expert discussions that also occurred during the site visits. The vast majority of those participants were affiliated with an organization, agency, or program related to the environment or natural resources. The results of the listening sessions were similar to the public survey, with the same top areas of concern and the same leading strategy. Once again, there is more detail on this process in the 2019 report if you'd like to review it. At this point, I'm going to stop talking about the 2019 process. If members have any questions, I'd be happy to try to answer them.
Thank you, Mr. Campana. If you have a question about the presentation, would you raise your hand or turn on your video? I see Senator Green.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I could try the video again, but I did make it home and none of my computers are working, so I'm back on my phone. When I was going through this thing, and I've gone through it a couple times because it's a lot to take in with the surveys and stuff. One thing that did stick out to me and was alluded to here in the summary is that out of the people that did respond to these surveys, I think 40% of them actually make their living off of these kind of environmental issues. And so I wonder if there's a bias there. And 40% of those, as I understand it, actually work for the state. And on the public surveys, I don't think 90 is a real good indicator of what the public is feeling. These are people that went to, obviously there wasn't a lot of attendance at these meetings because even 80% of those, that 90 actually basically makes some sort of profit off of the money. And so my question is, as we move forward in this this study and trying to come up with a new strategic plan, are we really going to be getting accurate information? And is this viable to use for this? And I think we have to consider that as we go through and maybe do a little bit more research as well. It's kind of a comment.
Thank you, Senator Green. Representative Hansen.
I think Senator Green brings up some good points. I think we all have to think back to 2019. It was pre-COVID. And so we were in a world where we were all individual meetings and trying to get people together and traveling around the state. And we've learned how to do things virtually like this meeting. So, you know, I think there's an opportunity to get a lot more people engaged in this with a little different effort. And I think what we talked about as we were debating this in the full commission is, you know, having some small group physical meetings can help update, but that 2019 was a long time ago. It'll be 5 years on that. But I guess one example I would use is a couple of weeks ago, I participated in a DNR meeting on feral hogs that they had set up. And I think they had about 60 people virtually. And then they opened it up for questions, you know, or public comment survey after that. And I think they got a couple hundred comments that came in. And the comments from the meeting were on had a different tone or topic or different topical questions than the survey. So I think we've learned during COVID with virtual, I think there's still a value in having some in-person input. I think the questions that were asked in 2019 are the relevant questions to ask because of they're part of the statute, and asking for those. So I think the questions are the same, but trying different outreach to reach people who don't normally participate and that can't come to meetings for things. But they can log on, and still providing that in-person opportunity is good. So I think that's what we kind of talked about in the full commission. And I would hope that we take the same questions, but try to supplement during the year of getting additional input from Minnesotans.
Thank you, Representative Hansen. Other comments? I see Member Langseth.
Yeah, thank you. I'm in agreement both with Senator Green and Representative Hansen. I think the coming from a community organizing perspective, the outreach could definitely use some work. You kind of always follow the rule of the strategy of 7 in marketing, which is, you try and reach people through 7 different means for them to actually participate and take action. So if there's a budget to actually do some mailings and put some money into actually getting the word out so the public can engage in whatever way that they can, whether it's in-person meetings or virtual, I think that you'll just have more voices at the table.
Thank you. And to your question, does staff have any information regarding how we might engage, what a budget we might have to engage stakeholders?
Madam Chair, I think that would go to me. I'm sure that there is funding that we could find in our budget. I don't have a specific number for you right now, but I'm sure we can come up with something and let you know.
Thank you. So we've had some recommendations that we need to do some additional public engagement, that we have both virtual or online engagement as well as in person, and perhaps even trying to find a way to do social media or other kinds of engagement that would broaden our reach. I see Commissioner Reese has his hand up. Commissioner Reese.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And I agree. I think more outreach is required. And I think some of the terminology has also changed in the last few years. So that would be something I think that requires updating. For example, I saw a notice under the clean air section, renewable energy section. I think now we would talk about industrial decarbonization, things like green steel, reducing the carbon intensity of agriculture, things of that nature. And I think there's a broader consensus that on that area than what there has been in the past as well.
Thank you, Commissioner Reese. We have a set of questions that were in the presentation that seem to be pretty comprehensive, and would perhaps suss out things like Commissioner Reese has recommended. Are there other comments about the stakeholder input that we should take? Representative Hansen. Can you unmute your, thank you.
I think, this also gives us an opportunity for maybe more of an effort on tribal engagement, as well as reaching underserved communities that may not have participated in the past. The virtual option provides for a greater geographic reach, and the scheduling of things, in terms of meetings, not just during the day, but in the evening, to try to get that input, and surveys to get input on those things, I think is helpful. The public participation, as well as the stakeholder or the subject matter experts. I think the subject matter experts help us get updated terminology on goals and the strategic planning. But, getting that public input, the more public engagement we have, the better it is.
So I'm looking to staff, Mr. Campana. Is there something in particular that you want to have a result from this discussion about the stakeholder input? Or should we move to number 5, the additional data input that we should seek?
I think you've already started that discussion, to be quite honest, which is wonderful.
Okay. Good. So I think there's been some consensus around the idea of how we broaden that engagement. So moving on to item number 5 on the agenda, what additional data and input should we seek in 2024? I think we have a really good base of survey and information to build upon. It's been mentioned that we should once again reach out to subject matter experts because as it's been noted, it's 2023 and 2024, not 2019. So there have been some changes. But are there other comments from the subcommittee members about what additional data and input we should seek during this public engagement process? Please raise your hand or speak up. I agree that the questions that we were presented seem to still be quite relevant and broad enough to generate a lot of good information. I see Commissioner Reese's hand is up.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Just want to comment about the subject matter experts. I tend to agree with Commissioner Green, Senator Green, that many times these same subject matter experts are the ones that are applying for funds and are, all of us carry a bias. So I would suggest that perhaps we could look outside of the general list of subject matter experts, perhaps some that do not or have not applied for projects in the past or for funding in the past from LCCMR, and try to get a broader, more diverse response or group of responses. So thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Reese. Other comments about what additional data and input we should seek in 2024? Representative Hansen.
Madam Chair, earlier did Ms. Nash say there were people here to discuss number 5? Or was that my misinterpretation?
Ms. Nash?
Madam Chair, we did have 2 testifiers signed up. One of them, Mayor Cuff from Virginia, due to unforeseen circumstances, is not able to give testimony today, but I do believe that we have Mayor Hajduk here.
And is it within our agenda to take that testimony now, or is that under number 6?
You can do that now if you'd like.
Okay, so if Mayor Hajduk is here, please unmute and introduce yourself and tell us what you'd like to have the subcommittee know. I see your name on the screen, so I think you're logged in. If you can hear us, Mayor Hajduk, can you unmute and give your testimony
unmute,
this
yeah.
time? Thank you.
Yep.
There you are. We see you. And we hear you.
So we just
You
let
can
her
go
know
ahead
that
and
we
begin
can't
your
hear her.
testimony.
How do I do that?
I think she can hear you.
I can hear you and see you. You
Yeah.
can go ahead
Okay,
and
we're
begin
gonna
your
call them.
testimony.
Just give them your name and your
Hi.
city of Hibbing.
And I'm the city of Hibbing,
Yeah, and your mayor.
Mayor Pete Hajduk.
Welcome, Mayor Hajduk. Please proceed with your testimony about
Just let her know we're gonna call in.
Okay. We're going to try calling in. We have no audio.
Ah. So we'll wait for staff to connect them so that they can hear what we're saying.
So they can't hear you. That's okay.
We can hear you. Ms. Nash, are we going to be able to connect them so they can hear what we are saying? Because we can hear them.
Yeah, we can hear them, and I think maybe either their speakers are not turned on and up, or they have additional audio problems. So I think they're going to call in through their phone. So we need to wait for them to take that step. And then as soon as we see them join the meeting, we will let them in. And I know that our staff is sending them an email as well. So we might want to circle back if there's
Okay.
anything else to discuss.
Well, I will then just put to the subcommittee once again if there are any additional data and input that they would like to see us seek in 2024. I think the questions that we have that we've posed in the past seem to be good. Are we considering staff to do another survey as well? So we'll conduct another survey. We'll conduct additional outreach and public engagement so that we can try to expand the reach of questioning for strategic planning, and broaden and make it a robust process so that Minnesotans have a voice in what our strategic plan will look like. Have they been able to connect yet?
I think they just logged out, so I think they're, oh no, he's still here. I have not seen them join through audio. Mayor, do you want to try again? We'll ask him to unmute here. Still having difficulties. Madam Chair, I was just going to ask Mr. Campana if he would envision with the survey that you would maybe send out proposed text of a survey to members. If that would be a logical next step to allow them to provide input on those survey questions, or if there was another step that you saw for that.
Thank you. Yep, Mr. Campana.
Cannot you unmute? You should mute.
Yes, Madam Chair, I think the next steps for us would be to try and put together the questions. It sounds like, based on the discussion I've heard so far, that in terms of the public survey, the subcommittee members were comfortable with the questions that were asked previously. However, we might still tweak the wording slightly, but it would still be those three basic questions. I do have a question regarding the subject matter expert survey. If that's something the subcommittee would like to be done, the questions there in the 2019 were more focused on weeding down goals and identifying strategies. And I'm not sure, since you're already starting from the results of that for this 2024 process, I didn't know if there were different questions you might want to pose to subject matter experts in this case.
Thank you, Mr. Campana. Can you remind us again the questions that we asked them? I don't have your presentation up in front of me right now.
Yes, give me one moment, Madam Chair, and I'll pull that up again for the subcommittee.
Because maybe it's a response to what those goals that were set. But yeah, can you just proceed?
Can you see the questions now?
Yes. Which of the following goals do you think are important to Minnesotans? What are the strategies you think would be key to achieving the goals? And is there another strategy you think would be key to achieving the goals you have selected? And in which of the following areas do you have expertise or experience related to the environment and natural resources? So subcommittee members, do you have any recommendations for staff on the survey that we might give to subject matter experts and any changes that we might make? And I'm going to look for hands up. I see Representative Hansen has had his hand up for some time. Representative Hansen.
Yes, Madam Chair. I think maybe for transparency, it's not so much the question, but maybe some more demographic information is collected from the subject matter experts. For example, have you requested or have you submitted a request to the commission in the past? Have you been funded in the past? Those two questions might be helpful of, just providing transparency to alleviate concern that we can weigh the results as we look at that, that people who've been through it before, you have outcomes based on content, but they may have input based on process, right? Maybe there needs to be a process question of a subjective, is the process understandable, achievable, or something like that. And I may not be being clear, but I think one is just a little transparency on the subject matter experts on who they are, and then also that they provide input not only on the issues, but process as well. Process of the commission in awarding funds.
Okay, thank you. I see Commissioner Reese.
Madam Chair, I would like to suggest a question that's out-facing. Looks to me like these three questions are more in-facing, which is, I understand that, but perhaps an out-facing question is, where can Minnesota provide leadership nationally and internationally?
Where can Minnesota provide leadership?
Yep.
Is that the question?
Sure, nationally and internationally. A question similar to that.
Okay, any other comments about Representative Hansen?
I think on that question, it would need to be ENRTF rather than, that's pretty broad. We could provide a lot of leadership on a lot of things, but it would have to be under the purview of the ENRTF.
I agree.
Thank you. Commissioner Reese agrees. Other comments about subject matter expert survey? Do we need to have a vote on whether we should add that question, or is it just something that staff will send out the draft and we can respond to the draft? Ms. Nash?
I can respond to that,
Mr.
Madam Chair.
Campana? Mr. Campana?
Yes, I think our plan was to, based on your discussion today, we were going to take that back as staff and try and put together questions and put together a plan for the outreach efforts. And then we would bring that to you at the first January meeting to discuss and approve at that point.
That was my understanding too. Thank you. So have we got our testifiers yet? I see the phone is connected.
Madam Chair, they're saying that they can't hear us, but they're willing to proceed with a combo of audio and video. They can't tell when he's getting called on. Noah, can we send a chat through Zoom to them to let them know?
We could hold up card placards or something.
Yeah.
They're on mute.
Commissioner Reese?
Yes, thank you. I'm just pointing out, Madam Chair, that they're muted currently.
And I can just click them, ask them to unmute here.
Hello. All right. Thank you. Am I okay to speak right now? Very good. Well, anyways, my name is Pete Hyduk and I'm the mayor of Hibbing, and good afternoon. Madam Chair and LCCMR Subcommittee members. I'd like to start by saying thank you first for allowing me to, approach you and address you during this strategic planning subcommittee as you start the planning process for 2024. You might not know Hibbing, Minnesota is a 186 square mile community, largest in the state of Minnesota, in northeastern Minnesota. In my city or our city, we have miles of multimodal trails, over 30 public parks, and the Kerry Lake Recreation Area, which is the jewel of our city, which is in a 1,200 acre site with a 139 acre body of water in the middle of it. That is in the limits of City Hibbing. I know the purpose of its Environmental and Natural Resource Trust Fund that you manage is to provide long-term and consistent and stable sources of funding for activities that protect, conserve, preserve, and enhance Minnesota's air, water, land, fish, wildlife, and other natural resources for the benefit of current citizens and, of course, for future generations moving forward. During the 2019 strategic visioning conducted by the LCCMR committee, you report conducting extensive stakeholder input gathering from the following groups: your legislative citizen commissions on Minnesota resources, LCCMR members, environmental and natural resource experts, and of course the general public and all the other stakeholders. Now you're undertaking this strategic visioning again in 2024. And I'd like to extend an invitation for you to all to come up north to Hibbing, Minnesota, and see how we take it serious to protect, preserve, and enhance our natural environment within the city limits for the current and future generations. The Kerry Lake Recreation Area that I'm referred to earlier is located just 4 miles from downtown Hibbing, and it provides public access to natural open spaces and mostly pristine and undeveloped wetlands and forestless areas surrounding 139 acre lake. The park contains 13 miles of trails, lit ski trails, hiking, cross country, skiing, biking, basically everything but motorized trails. It is all natural. The perennial favorite of the tourists and residents alike, this is one of the top voted visited sites in Hibbing when people are visiting and using our park system. In 2023, the city applied for NERT funding for recreational-based development that would preserve this 1,100 acres from residential or commercial development for the long term. We want to keep it natural for our residents and the visitors that come north. Additionally, the funding would have allowed the city to explore further aligning of trails of the Kerry Lake Park trails with the other multimodal trails, including the Redhead Mountain Bike Park and the Mesaba Trail, which moves through northeastern Minnesota. Unfortunately, the majority of these projects were funded by the LCCMR committee in 2023 were for research and studies and not really for recreational development in rural areas. And that's one of the reasons I'm reaching out to you today. I would really like you to see what we have available in our Kerry Lake recreational area and how we fit your criteria on what we're trying to accomplish. The area might help you see how recreational development like the one we applied for in 2023 would help to protect, conserve, preserve, and enhance Minnesota's air, water, land, fish, wildlife, and other natural resources. I really want to thank you for the time, and I hope that we can have a time where we might be able to sit down and talk person to person. So I'd have a chance to show you this jewel of our community and northeastern Minnesota that we have worked hard to keep natural for the residents and surrounding area moving forward.
Thank you, Mayor Hyduk. I'm not sure he can hear me in Hibbing. Can he hear us? No.
Yes, well, I can hear you.
You can. Ah, cool.
You can now.
Well, thanks for your testimony. Appreciate the invitation to come up to Hibbing and your sentiments about recreation and outdoor recreation. We all support. So I appreciate your time today.
Thank you so much, and for all you do, and together we move forward for the best of this state. Thank you.
If there is no other public testimony, or I should say, if there is no other discussion about item 5, which is what additional data and input we should seek in 2024, we'll move on to number 6, unless I see a hand raised. And I do not see anyone raising their hand. So item number 6 is any public testimony beyond what we've already heard. Staff, is there anyone else that would like to give testimony or that you have received in writing? No?
No.
If there is nothing else for the good of the cause, I will say that our next meeting is scheduled for January 9th. And will that be online as well? Ms.
Madam Chair, I do believe we will have to do those online because of construction that's happening around the state office building. So we'll make sure to include that in any announcement, but from right now, it's looking like it will be fully remote.
Okay. And to the point about moving out of the SOB, I assume you're getting settled into your new digs in Centennial Office Building. If we should need to visit you and have an opportunity to stop down at the Capitol area.
You are welcome to join, stop in after December 18th sometime.
All right. Well, with that, I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Thank you, Representative Hansen. We are adjourned. I'll just say, Commissioner Reese, you were elected vice chair. I don't know if you were listening in at the conversation, but we're happy to have you on board as the vice chair.
Thank you for that honor. My apologies, I am not feeling very well today, so I had to drop off for a little while. Thank you.
All right, well, we'll see you all again January 9th, and happy holidays, happy Hanukkah, and